Hello, this is Jimmy in Dayton, Ohio. I am the maker of the Nissan Baja kit that was launched in 2008. You can see some of this stuff on that page, and I am trying to work on another website for some of the loudspeaker components. I've actually been building loudspeakers since the early 80s. The name of this will be Exotic Sound Labs. It's Exotic Sound Labs. My direct phone number is 614-470-2356. 614-470-2356. You can see this stuff on eBay as well if you look up Exotic Sound Labs or US Audio Mart. You can also Google Exotic Sound Labs and you should be able to find me and find some of these speaker kits that I'm actually putting on. Anyway, I'm not a professional at doing videos. This stuff has never been on the internet before. It's only been advertised in phone book and newspaper and basically word of mouth. What I'm selling here is basically a lot of vintage components that don't use anymore. They're parts that may be very close to what I use in my crossover designs, but they may have been changed just a little bit. Basically getting rid of everything, and we are going to only sell what's called the Audiophile Rock and Blues Junkie loudspeaker kit, and that's a do-it-yourself kit. We're going to sell the crossover and the woofers, the mid-range driver, and the tweeters, the monitor cabinets, and you'll have to build your own bass cabinet. So that'll basically come with a couple of different drawings for your bass cabinets. We're working on that right now. You can see that on those pages that I suggested. What this is right here, these are a pair of Focal Polyglass 75V 11-inch drivers. These were used in some old Wilson audio. I believe the Max 3s, and they were coupled with the 13-inch version. These drivers are in excellent condition, basically mint. I've sold off 4 of these in previous loudspeaker systems in the past. This driver here has been mounted very carefully. The drivers are in great shape. They've never been abused. This was a proto with a poly Kevlar mid-range driver and a tweeter that was pretty similar to this. It was a different company, but it was very similar to that tweeter right there. These are no longer available. These are probably the last in the world right here. I have 1 pair of these. Those are going to be great for anyone building a very high-end system. And I actually will offer that as one of the last single woofer models of that 3-way tower kit. So these are the new woofers, and actually those have been in use for about 20 years. Just like this speaker kit right here. Now this is actually a modified, this is a test cabinet, it's a prototype. This is the tweeter, and the speaker has been modified. It's rear ported now. These are not realistic drivers. They're not realistic crossovers. I'm not going to show you the mid-range driver because it's top secret. Sorry about that, but I've had a lot of problem with people copying and marketing our loudspeaker kits. This is a very similar crossover to what's inside here. The crossover that's inside here is actually a little bit more sophisticated than this one here. This is a very high quality crossover. This is actually the crossover that I used in this loudspeaker. This is about 20 years old, and this was the original prototype. I don't make these anymore. We pretty much quit manufacturing cabinets. Too much hassle, too much trouble, too much cost to ship. Although there is an available monitor cabinet that's very nice. It's actually the same cabinets and the cubic volume and everything is absolutely perfect for this mid-range driver to be rear vented, and they're in beautiful cherry. And basically they are the same cabinets that Revel uses for their mini monitor cabinets. But let me tell you, these drivers, the crossovers that I build, and the bass units and everything are way better units than the Revel speakers. And these are not made in China. None of my drivers are made in China. They're all French, German, English drivers, stuff like that. So anyway, this happens to be an old crossover. It actually was the car audio and club sub, which is not available anymore. The driver's not available, the bass driver. And it was pretty much rocking pretty hard, like in clubs or for the car. And actually worked with the same mid-range driver that's in the front of this speaker, and we used to mount that into the front of this cabinet right here. This thing's about 25 years old. This tweeter still works perfectly. This is rear ported, and basically we have about the same crossover network for this right here. And with the high-end mid-range driver, oh, sorry, the camera is upside down. The mid-range driver can actually be used on a 500 watt RMS car audio amplifier rated at 4 ohms and 300 watts of 8 ohm power in the home with a pretty low crossover point. Now this is a cheaper version, the 5502Rs. These are not made anymore. This is the last pair of those. These were our economical drivers. They're pretty good. Give you a real good bang for the buck. Nice low end response, and you can get about 150 to 200 watts of power handling, with the right high pass filter on these right here, coupling those with a bass driver. And those do work well in this cabinet. And in the car, 300 watts per side really should be no problem. So this happens to be a Vifa, never been used. It's a famous maker. I'm not real crazy about Vifa voice coils and their surrounds, but they were pretty famous units. What I use is much more durable than the Vifa drivers, but all this stuff right here is on clearance right here. This is a pair of replacement NHT 1259 drivers that used to be in the sub. We used to sell a couple of these. Never really sold a bunch of them. Actually, these drivers right here, I don't know how many of these we've sold. We sold those in these cabinets. We used to make some high gloss laminate cabinets that were 3 cubic foot. And those are all sold out as well. Made those since the late 90s. Basically, that's some of our stuff that's been copied. So anyway, that's why I'm kind of careful about my mid-range driver. It's a very important unit. This is a pair of tweeters, brand new tweeters, never been used. Same tweeters right here. These are 6 ohm impedance a piece. They're made in Norway, Germany. This is another pair of vintage German tweeters. Same maker that makes MB Court. This is the same tweeter as an MB Court. It's actually made by the true manufacturer. Got all the little housings right here. These tweeters right here can actually be mounted in these, and they stand up, so they can actually be used on top, as a top mount tweeter as well. You can mount them in the cars. Here's a few economical crossover parts that actually works for those right there. And here's some 150 UF capacitors, 400 volts. Those have never been used. A lot of these inductors, these are right around the values that we use in our crossover parts, but they may not be the exact value. Here's some 0.27s. I forget what these are called, but yeah, these things are expensive. And so anyway, basically all this stuff right here is pretty much at closeout, and I want to sell this only to one person and basically sell it all. Okay, now as far as the focal drivers, we will sell the focal drivers separate. Those would be $400 plus shipping, or you can buy those in a complete kit with the mid-range driver and a pair of these tweeters and the entire crossover network, base crossover, everything. And I offer those in two types of crossovers, either 6 dB per octave or 12 dB per octave in the low range. Everything in the upper range is all 12 dB per octave. And now this right here is basically, you know, like I said, this speaker's a prototype. It's just, you know, remanufactured out of a realistic loudspeaker. And this thing is working great. And we're hoping to convert this very soon to those Cherry monitor cabinets. So the system is basically designed to be used, you know, as a tower base subwoofer kit. Okay, which, you know, you're going to want the tower subwoofers to be right around 28 inches tall. They should come up pretty much to the line of this right here. Your mid-range driver is going to go here, and your tweeter is going to go here. It's going to be rear vented, and the crossover point is going to be below 200 hertz but above 100 hertz, and that's either at 12 dB per octave or 6 dB per octave, depending on how you want to set up your loudspeaker. And also, you can also build this into a tower speaker, which, you know, we done, you know, that was the first kit we done with the focals and the 5-inch poly Kevlar drivers, and that was in a tower speaker where the tweeter was 41 inches tall. And the base cabinet was 33 inches tall, 3 cubic foot, tuned to 30 hertz. Again, and then you can run that with a 12 dB per octave crossover to integrate the entire system. It was a very, very clean, very high-end system, probably just as good as most of the Wilson Audio loudspeakers out there. Again, this is Jimmy at 614-470-2356, and I also have one set of these Golden Oak cabinets. They're 2.32 cubic foot each. Now they are totally open. There's no bracing. You can add bracing in these cabinets. They're put together with quarter round. They're a high grade particle board. They're not MDF, you know, like all our old handmade cabinets. These are actually handmade, but totally sold out of those quite a few years ago. All our laminate cabinets are totally gone. They're gone. So now what I do is I basically take vintage old speaker cabinets, and, you know, we'll rebuild the cabinets, rebaffle them and stuff like that, and mount new drivers and crossovers in there, turning them into high-end sound quality. 614-470-2356. You can see my page at my Facebook page at Nissan Baja Kit. You'll see a lot more stuff on there, and some of our old kits. Thank you for watching.